In 2022, New York State approved legislation to allow 3 new full-scale casino licenses for the downstate region, including right here in Manhattan. While no casinos have opened yet, this process is underway to potentially bring 2 to 3 casinos. So joining us now with more, our former New York Senator Michael Balboni and CEO of Salaviv Group, Michael Hirschman. Michael Balboni, we'll start with you. Where does this licensing process currently stand?
Originally, the legislature had come out with a timeline that was designed to, first of all, do a process where it would answer questions brought by potential vendors. And then within 2024, there would be the opportunity to submit actual proposals. And there was no firm timeline as to when those proposals would be considered. Recently, though, the governor has decided that the process needs more time and has signaled that the timeline is actually going to be extended into 2025, pushing back basically a year. Now, the legislature was not so happy about that because they decided that in the intent of their statute that they passed really wanted a quicker timeline. And in fact, legislation was introduced by the chairman of the gaming and racing committees for both houses about a week or so ago. The legislature is still in session. Don't know what is going to happen with that acceleration bill, as they're calling it.
Michael Hirschman, so that means permitting in late 2025, where we stand right now, shovels doubtfully in the ground until at least 26. What do you make of that timeline?
Well, we're, of course, disappointed by the delay, but we'll work within those guidelines. We do expect, as you just indicated, that the licenses won't be granted at this point until the end of 2025. We're very lucky in our case that our ground that we would like to build on is shovel ready right now. We have prior zoning for the site, which is on First Avenue between 38th and 41st Street, which would allow us to begin building under normal circumstances today. But we'll wait and see how the licensing process plays out.
Interesting. Michael Balboni, back to you. What are these casinos expected to do for the state of New York?
Well, it's billions of dollars of revenue, potentially, and that's really what the promise in here. But it's also an economic development engine, especially in places where they don't necessarily have, well, for example, Michael Hirschman has been a big proponent of affordable housing and has included those proposals within this project. That's a crucial need for the city of New York. And if you take a look at where this casino project in Freedom Plaza is located, that's an area right next to the United Nations with a beautiful view of the river. And in that area, you can bring 5-star hotel facilities and restaurants and really cater to an upscale clientele that would bring even more revenue to the city itself. For the other places, the other casinos, everyone's got their own pitch. There are folks that say out in Queens that they really want to redevelop an area that's been kind of fallow over the years near Citi Field. And then there's the folks within Times Square who want to do something there, and as well as Hudson Yards. So each of the proposals has a piece that says we will do better for the community. But of course, it also raises concerns.
Okay, Michael Hirschman. So he mentioned some of the other favorites there, the related wind proposal for Hudson Yards, Steve Cohen, Citi Field, Ferry Point in the Bronx, that's from Bally's, and then the Equities Consortium in Coney Island. How does your bid differ from those in terms of economic improvement? And the other thing it will bring on the flip side is a lot of traffic to an area that shuts down parts of New York when the UN is town. How do you alleviate those concerns?
Well, let me begin with that last item, the traffic issue. The entire city closes down during UN week. It is a week that poses difficulty for transportation for everyone. I try to stay out of town that week, as do many others. But our research, and we've hired independent consultants who are traffic experts, show that in the case of a Manhattan integrated resort, it's not just about a casino now. We want to build an integrated resort that provides parkland, a museum, as Michael Balboni said, affordable housing as well. We don't think that a lot of people will be bringing private vehicles to this site. In fact, we think that over 75% of the people coming to the site, according to this study, will use public transportation or other means of getting there. We're very close, for example, to the ferry crossing, very close to Grand Central Station. So, and we've had a test case. You may know that for the last 4 or 5 months, we've had the largest outdoor art exhibit called Field of Lights on that plaza. And we've had over 40,000, close to 40,000 visitors without any noticeable traffic increase. But I will say that UN Week does pose a problem.
Michael Hirschman, sticking with you, if you do win this bid, when do you expect that your company would become profitable?
Well, it'll take 2 to 3 years to get operational in terms of the hotel, casino, and other amenities, restaurants, retail. This is an area of the city that has not had a lot of economic development over the years. So we can bring a lot to the community. And with regard to economic development, we expect to have 8,000 full-time union, well-paying jobs on this site after construction. We also are going to be giving 2% of our net profits back directly to the community so that they can use it for neighborhood beautification, for schools, for sporting events.
And Senator Balboni, how vital is economic development given the exit of so many hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers in that COVID pandemic that just fled the city, some moving to the suburbs in New Jersey and Connecticut, and many moving to Florida?
So if you listen to some of the discussions that have been had by, say, Kathy Weil, who heads up an economic development group in the city, the city needs to have another engine that they can really rely on to bring more economic activity in the city itself. And these types of, when you have this integrated campus, as Michael Hirschman said, where it's not just about the gaming facility, it's also about a whole host of other opportunities itself, then what you're developing this great engine that's using, in the case, obviously, of Freedom Plaza, the beauty of New York and getting people to an area of the city that perhaps not there. They don't go there right now, other than to visit the United Nations. This is the type of promise that you can have, and frankly, the opportunity to change the skyline of New York City, particularly as you're coming in from the east. So all these proposals do present the opportunity to a city that is struggling to maintain its tax base.
Indeed. Michael Balboni, I wanted to get your take quickly before we go on New York State, as a former state senator, New York State's plans to restrict social media algorithms. Your thoughts on that and how exactly they would even attempt to implement such action?
So this morning I saw that there was some news that the legislative leaders have reached agreement on what that type of restriction would be. I believe it really focuses on not having kids being able to access social media in school. Now, what the parameters are, how enforceable that is, what the outcomes would be. At the end of the day, it really is all about, parenting and what the students do off, their time away from schools. So it's the Governor Hochul has decided that this is something that is a real threat to the individuals in that age group, and so she wants to try to give parents tools to be able to help restrict them and their access. How successful it's going to be and what it actually looks like, that's still the details that have not been revealed.
Yeah, the algorithms are the most important thing these social media companies have. Should be interesting. Guys, keep us posted on the development of these New York City casinos. Our thanks to former New York Senator Michael Balboni and Michael Hirschman, CEO of Solaviv.